Councilor Prescott, you have said that you are pro-life, and when you were in the state Senate had a 100% rating from pro-life groups. Yes. But during this campaign, you have also said that you would vote no on any bills in Congress restricting abortion because it's now a state-by-state decision. Mm-hmm. Have you given up on your pro-life beliefs, and how can you have it both ways?
The Constitution gives me the responsibility, when I swear an oath to the Constitution, to respect it. It's the Bill of Rights, and it's the 10th Amendment that says that the states, if they don't give up any rights to the federal government, those rights should stay with the states. And that's concerning abortion. Therefore, if any bill comes up before me as a congressman, I would not take away the state's rights, New Hampshire's right to have legislation for abortion here and stay here. So that is why my position as being a pro-life candidate is secure, because of my oath of office to the Bill of Rights, to the 10th Amendment, to make sure that I uphold my solemn oath. I will not vote for any abortion laws in Washington, D.C.
Congressman Pappas, you have said that you are in favor of restoring the protections that had been in place under Roe v. Wade, but it did allow states to limit abortion access after fetal viability. The bill you support goes even further with no restrictions on abortion, saying it should be up to women and their doctors. But is there a point when the unborn child should have legal protections?
Well, look, I trust women to make this deeply private, personal decision. And he talked about the 10th Amendment, the Constitution. He didn't talk about the people that are being impacted by the Dobbs decision, which he supports. He supported taking away a woman's right to choose and handing this issue over to politicians and judges. And now we have a third of women in America that are living in a state where abortion is essentially banned outright. Women have lost their lives as a result of these draconian abortion bans across the country, and we've got to do something about it. I trust women to make this decision, and we had Roe for 50 years in this country. It provided a level of stability and predictability around the law that I want to work to reestablish. And the fact that the court has taken this right away is not lost on people that I meet every day. I think of woman Susan from Londonderry, who worries about her two daughters growing up in a country where they don't have the same rights that she did. And so that's just outrageous in the year 2024 that we're facing this choice. We've got to make sure that we're electing pro-choice candidates for office that will restore the right to choose, and I'll do that.
Councilor, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, thank you for addressing the fact that Chris Pappas believes that I wanted Roe v. Wade overturned.
You support the Dobbs decision.
I support our state's rights. I do appreciate Chris for bringing that forward. Making sure that we protect our Bill of Rights is the oath of office. And the Bill of Rights say if the states don't give up that right, it should stay with the states. So that's where I stand.
Well, states' rights is one thing, but what about women's rights? I fundamentally believe that this district deserves a champion for reproductive freedom. That's what I've demonstrated throughout my time in politics, and it's not good enough to be hedging on this. Throughout this campaign, you've said you're pro-life. That's your record. I respect your point of view, but you shouldn't be forcing your worldview on the women of this country that deserve bodily autonomy and to be able to make their own decisions. Anytime you're allowing government in the exam room, it's wrong. It's not what we stand for in New Hampshire, and I want to change it.
I do appreciate your position. I do. But it's wrong. New Hampshire, with their own elected officials, are not, what you would say, just politicians. They only make $100 a year. They're doing it because they want to have public service as part of their record of giving back to New Hampshire. So when you look at local control, is it better to have federal bureaucrats making your decisions, or is it better to have the state make those decisions? That's where I stand. I believe in states' rights.
I've yet to meet a woman that wants her state rep or her state senator or any politician in the exam room with her. This is a deeply private, personal decision. There are situations that policymakers just can't envision, and so we should trust the individual to decide what's right in consultation with their doctor, and that's a difference between the two of us.
A quick rebuttal for you there, Councilor, if you'd like 15 seconds.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, next question.